Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be one of those days. After, arguably, one of the most buggy gaming sessions I've ever experienced during yesterday's Baldur's Gate 3 stream. After 130 hours of playing this game, it resulted in the possibility of me losing a critical item that I needed to continue to use one of my characters. At this point, this seems like me ranting about the game in the endgame has become a regular occurrence. I can totally understand if you're not interested. But if you are, stick around, because I've got a lot to say on today's episode of the Level 1 Podcast. Okay, good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 26th of March, 2024. I am Phil I am, and I am here, and it is time for the show. We are continuing on with our humongous push to finish RPG Overload. Oh, excuse me. RPG Overload. And doing my absolute best, okay, to basically finish up Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. The good news is we are on pace to finish these games this week. In fact, if we stay at the same pacing that we've been at, I'll probably beat them both on Friday. And I know that's crazy. Like, wait, what? It's going to be perfect timing to finish them both on Friday? Yeah, maybe. All right? But let me tell you guys something. All right? And again, you know me, I'm honest. I'm not a butt kisser, but I also don't irrationally hate things for clickbait views. The further we go into Baldur's Gate 3 Endgame, the more I dislike this game. All right? And this is a game that I understand is something that attempted to do something probably never done in any kind of an RPG before. It tried to make an unmatched, insane amount of quantity while still maintaining a certain level of production value and quality in a retail gaming experience. You know, this is not a game that you paid $400 to play, although some people might very well say that's a justified price tag for the amount of content in the game. Okay? But man, after yesterday's stream, the entire stream was like a comedy of errors. And as much as I'd like to admit that sometimes I'm the one making the mistakes, yesterday was just atrocious. Okay? Simply using game mechanics that have worked the entirety of the game led to failure and disaster. Bugs, glitches, horrible design choices, frozen characters, screens teleporting back and forth between two rooms when I wasn't even in a room involved in something. It was just nonsense, okay? And it all culminated at the very end of that session with me ultimately looking to lose a legendary weapon that is essential for the build of my character Carlaq. And if it doesn't exist anymore, basically she's going to be nearly worthless. All right? Because there's really no way to replace that weapon. Did I do something wrong to deserve that? No. It's just a wonky game engine. And that's sad. Because a game with this many moving parts, there's so much to keep track of. I can understand when every once in a while something goes wrong. In fact, I can understand if like every third of the time something random happens and you're not expecting it. But when you're in the end game and you have a situation where you've built a character over the course of 130 hours and everything you've done has worked towards this character's build, and basically this character is so good, they've single-handedly been the reason you have won endgame challenging boss fights like the Raphael fight. And then to say, oh, we just decided in this particular fight, there's going to be a random variable that's going to cause chaos, and now an item will literally be yeeted from existence, finger snapped out of the game engine, is completely unacceptable. You know, last week I ranted about a character in my party leaving and taking all his equipment with him. Now, you can argue that's the result of my choices in the game. Fair enough. I just don't like the way that he walks out of the game with no way to get those items back and no opportunity to even know that he's about to leave. In this case, I didn't do anything wrong. It's just the game engine that's causing me strife, and it looks like at the very end of the game is going to screw me over, and now we've got to pull a last-minute audible to figure out how to remedy the situation. In fact, it's so funny because literally right now, no one can concretely tell me what actually happened, nor is anyone sure if that spear actually exists or not in the game world. A lot of people are under the impression it's gone, and others are like, maybe it's hidden. So we got to try to figure this out as we play today. It's just a mess. And the fact is, for a game that is supposed to be Game of the Year, for a game that's supposed to be adhering to a very strict rule set of D&D, it shouldn't be a variable of, we don't know what happened. It should be very distinct and easy to figure out what happened, and it's not. And that's a problem, okay? So, today, we are going to talk all about yesterday's disaster stream of Baldur's Gate 3 and how the comedy of errors built up to the ultimate fumble and now what to do moving forward. Good news is, we're in the final hour, right? It's in the, we're running to the end zone. We're almost there. We're going to finish this game in just a few days. And then finally, we'll be done with it. We can say enough. Because I'll be honest, like, I've enjoyed the game. There's no way I would have played a game for 130 plus hours if I wasn't overall enjoying myself. I want to make that clear. But I also feel like this game basically got an insane amount of passes when other games would have been judged very harshly for the problems that this game has because there was this humongous hype behind it for whatever reason. And I don't know, because actually I'm not into D&D. I'm not into Larian Studios games or this style of game. So I actually don't know where the hype came from. All right. I respect the game for a lot of the things it's trying to do, making essentially the longest retail game possible. I don't think I've ever played a video game before where I paid regular retail price and got this much content out of it, right? And it's not rehashed fetch quests. It's not go grind against 1,000 goblins. It's all unique. That's a huge undertaking and a huge accomplishment, in my opinion. But FYI, I'm sorry. I do feel like this game is overhyped, is overpraised. It has these wonky problems, these jankiness to the game engine. The problem that it's just so complex. Again, it's so many moving parts that at some point you have to understand that when something goes wrong, it's just not fun anymore. And that's the point I'm at. Like, after yesterday, I'm at my wit's end with this game. I just want it to end so we can say, it's done, I've done it, move on. And that's not good. You shouldn't have that feeling when you've invested 130 hours into a game that won Game of the Year. You shouldn't have a feeling of incredible exhaustion and just wanting to move on at the end of it. And I do. And that's my honest take. And listen, I'm sure there's tons of people out there who don't have that feeling or never did during the course of playing the game. I can only share with you my thoughts from my personal experience. This game fell apart in the third act. It really did. Like, there's so many problems we've had in this third act, and this is just the icing on the cake now, that it's hard to recommend someone invest this much time into a game that at the end can ruin you because it decides to. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's talk about it, all right? Let's go ahead and discuss the stream from yesterday. Just to get this out of the way, here's the schedule for the week. Today, tomorrow, and Friday, Baldur's Gate 3, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, with the intention of beating the games. I'm not here Thursday. It's my day off from streaming. My intention is to wrap these up, hopefully, by Friday night. So that way, we can move on. We can play Dragon's Dogma 2. We can perhaps play a new game, such as Alone in the Dark, which I'm actually very interested in now, and I think you guys would enjoy. A lot of people are like, yeah, survival horror is up your alley. We want to see it. Or maybe going back to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I want to start my co-op playthrough with my wife of Beyond Two Souls, which is going to be really neat because we haven't done a full co-op playthrough of anything before, because this one's narrative-based and she's never played it. I think it's going to be super fun. Essentially, I feel like we are definitely ready to move on. And that's why I need to push to finish these games, okay? So that's just the schedule for the week, okay? Just so you guys know, we're not going to be doing anything crazy or anything. We just need to finish these games, then we move on to new stuff. I know, I played Dragon's Dogma 2 on Friday when it came out for one day, and I haven't touched it since, and I can't until we finish these games, all right? Okay, so I don't really need to go too crazy here talking about the schedule. You know what it is, okay? Now, let's go very briefly through yesterday's stream of Baldur's Gate 3. Okay? First things first, we had finished up the Iron Throne quest line. And right off the bat, I was confused because I didn't really get a reward for it. Like, I saved everyone inside the Iron Throne prison, including Duke Ravengard, including, what was it, Amalum, the Mind Flayer, the friendly Mind Flayer, including all of the gnomes and the other prisoners that were in there. And I'm like, so I'm definitely going to get a great reward because I basically did it flawlessly. I got nothing. Wow, thanks for that. Thanks for one of the most anxiety-inducing parts of the game, literally not rewarding me in any way for it. Then we went to go to Amalum's group, which we had never even knew that they had a building in Baldur's Gate before. And he basically rewards you with a bunch of items that are completely worthless at the end of the game. So why they would hand those to you, I have no idea. We loot the house, and there's nothing in the house either. There's actually a big safe in a hidden room. It's empty. Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. So then, we went to Steelwatch, okay? And, man, right off the bat, we have problems. So I'm trying to sneak into Steelwatch. And the game's guard aggroes not to my main character, but to Lae'zel for no reason, because the game should always aggro to your party leader. I don't care about positioning. I don't care about that bullshit, because that's just dumb shit. When you're playing an RPG, your party leader should be the one involved in any dialogue options, period. I don't care about their rationale. It's just bad game design, okay? So it picks Lae'zel. Well, can't do the check because Lae'zel doesn't have any speech check, ability, so let's reload. So we reload, and then we do it again, and this time Darkscale Phil gets detected. I pass the speech check, which says, oh, the guard lets you in, and then the guard immediately aggroes to me again and does exactly the same speech check a second time. And I'm like, I passed the speech check. Why is the guard acting like I didn't do it, and now we have to do it again? It doesn't make any sense. It's a game bug. So we have to fight the guard. I kill the guard, and we get inside. So that's bug number 1, by the way. We get inside, and there's a room full of people talking, okay? And I'm like, listen, now, in the entirety of this game, if you use stealth, you can sneak by entire encounters, entire situations. You can skip fights. Just use stealth. So I said, I'm going to use the same mechanic I've used the whole game, and it's always worked. No reason to think it wouldn't here, okay? I actually sneak by the entire room of people. It's a mix of, like, slaves and enemies and everything in there, okay? And I go to the next room, and I go into a room where already there's combat. It looks like the gnomes or dwarves or whoever they are fighting the guards. So a fight ensues. Okay, well, they see me. All right, we're going to fight. But what happens is the game decided, again, what great coding here and what great writing. There was supposed to be a conversation that was supposed to happen in the room before that's tied to the story of the Steelwatch Foundry. So because I skipped it, the game decides now to initiate 2 fights at once in 2 different rooms. Despite the fact none of my party is in that first room, the camera decides it's going to jump back and forth between people in 2 completely different rooms, making the camera go light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Now, again, if it were me screwing up, right, that would be one thing. What if I aggroed in the first room and then I aggroed in the second room? My party was split. That's happened before in the playthrough. And now I kind of understand why that happened. I didn't do that. The game just decided, oh, there was a conversation you were supposed to psychically know about in the first room tied to the story. You shouldn't skip it. If you do, now a fight ensues, but you're also in another fight. So now there's 2 fights going on at once. Basically, the game becomes completely unplayable. Because what happens is the turns bar glitched. And it had turns appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing endlessly. It wouldn't even settle. It was just like wobbling around all fucked up. And I started playing it and people were like, dude, you just got to reload. This thing is going nuts and it doesn't look like it's even working right. Like, all right, so I'll reload it, right? So that's bug number 2. Sorry. And you guys say, well, that's not a bug. Well, it is. Because nowhere else in the game does this occur where you have a required conversation in the room before you cannot skip with stealth, and then it creates 2 fights in 2 separate rooms going on at the same time with the camera juggling back and forth. It shouldn't happen like that. So either it's bad coding or it's a game bug. You can call it whatever you want. It's a problem. So that's like major problem number 2 of the stream. Okay? So then I reload, and I said, well, I guess I got to go engage with the first group of people, because if I don't, it's going to screw up if I skip and go to the second. So I engage with the first group of people, big fight. I save everyone in the room. Literally, I saved every single slave that was there. Good. So now they're all on my side. And one of them actually says, hey, I have the ability to disable the foundry. Get me into that final room, and I'll do it for you. Okay, sounds good. But I need to long rest before we do that because I've already had 2 fights. Let's long rest. So we walk outside. We long rest. We come back. That person has disappeared from the universe. Where the fuck did they go? Why aren't they not here? I don't know. You tell me. Does it make sense that they would be there waiting for me? I go long rest. I come back. They've just vanished. Everyone else in the room is still there. Just the one person I need who's critical to the story in this Steel Foundry has disappeared. So now people are looking it up online and say, oh, he's at your camp. Why? Why did he follow me to camp? He's in the world. Everyone else stayed in the world. Why did he follow me to camp? Doesn't even make sense. Well, go get him. Okay, I go to my camp. He is there. I talk to him. Come with me. Okay. We go back to the world. He glitches. He literally gets stuck. He won't walk. He won't talk. He just stands there like a fucking statue, completely uninteractable. I'm holding down the button that does the area selection. He can't even be selected. It's like he's there, but he does not exist. So guess what? That option to complete the quest has been removed from my game because the game glitched out. That's bug number 3. That's 3 already. We're not even halfway through the stream yet. 3 huge critical bugs happening in the game within like an hour and a half period. Okay? So I said, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Now I have a bomb to blow this place up. I don't want to do that. In fact, the game kind of leaned towards don't do that. That's a bad karma choice. Because if you do that, you can end up hurting people. All right? So I'm like, I don't want to do that, but I guess that's the only option I have now because the guy's glitched. He won't come shut it down. So I guess we got to do this. So we end up going back into the next room, which is the room where we initially tried to fight and generated the 2-room fight that was all bugged out. We fight that fight. We win. A few people sadly died in that fight, and there was nothing I could really do about it because the robots are self-destructing, and I can't just save everybody. But we did pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and go into the final room. Big boss, excellent, good fight. I kicked its ass. You know, my lightning is like ultra-powered now. And, all right, so we're at the final part, and here's the thing that says bring the guy to it for him to deactivate it. So I go to try to get him. He just won't. I tried reloading, everything, nothing. He's just frozen forever. He's just bugged in the game universe literally forever. He won't move. So I said, I guess I got to use the bomb. So luckily, because I had done what I had done, meaning I had done the Iron Throne first, the workers had revolted against their captors, and everyone who I had rescued survives. If I hadn't done Iron Throne first and I blew up the foundry, everyone would have died, and that's the bad karma. You see? So, again, so many moving parts, you can't track what becomes what outcome. I had no idea what the outcome was. I was trying to do one outcome that was supposed to be a good option, but apparently you could have done it this way anyway. If I had known that, maybe I wouldn't have cared about the guy bugging out, but it never should have happened to begin with. Okay? So, we blow up the foundry. Actually, we get a really cool quest completion where all these factors from the game factor in. Basically, the iron, what is it, the iron gnomes get their big reward, or not reward, but their big like end game plot. And I was like, oh, that was actually a cool outcome. I liked that outcome. Because if I hadn't done all these other things during the game, I wouldn't have gotten that quest outcome, and I actually really liked it. Okay? So, in reality, even with all these bugs that really were annoying as shit, at least I got to a good quest outcome. Okay? So now the only thing left to do next is let's go take out Gortash. All right? And immediately I get some advice. I think it was actually Dark Gaming. He says, well, if you go in the front door, everything's going to aggro to you. Now, the good news is the Steel Watch is deactivated, so the robots won't attack you. But if you go in the front door, all the other guards are going to aggro to you. I said, well, you know what? I had actually found a back way in much earlier on. The first time we had gone to this worm fort castle, whatever the hell it's called, we had found a back way up a ladder. I was like, maybe that's what that's actually for, right? So, I'm like, let's do this. So we go up the ladder. Well, first of all, the game has this weird thing where I guess if you take a scroll of feather falling, it affects your whole party. But if you chug a potion, it only affects the one person. Again, I've played 130 hours into the game. I didn't even know that. Again, so too many moving parts, too many factors, too many things to know or remember. So I had a little bit of an error there where I split my party up. I'll take the blame for that one because it's just lack of knowledge of the game. Okay? But then we finally get to the back of the building. We crawl up the ladder. We go inside. There's no enemies whatsoever in line of sight. I'm trying to use, like, basically kind of like sneak around. Immediately we get detected and a fight ensues. There's no one there. There's literally no one there. No one looking at me. I had the line of sight activated, and no one saw me in line of sight, and the game aggroed to me anyway. Now, you can argue maybe you just didn't see it. You're right. Maybe I didn't. But I was being careful. I was trying to be stealthy. That was the whole point of me going in the back. Now I got an extra fight I got to do because the game's being stupid about it. All right? Whatever. We beat the fight. Blah, blah, blah. We get to the Gortash boss fight. Okay? The Gortash boss fight is, in my opinion, and now I'm 133 plus hours into this game, the most unnecessarily complex fight in the whole game. And I've had fights that were puzzles, and I've had fights that there was a million enemies. This fight has far too many factors to the point where it's impossible for you to actually focus on what you're doing because there's a million things going on. There's flame traps and turrets on the walls that are constantly shooting grenades and fire. There's a force field on Gortash that protects him from damage, that reflects projectiles, and there's 2 pieces of machinery on the wall that apparently make the field work, but it's not clear how or what you need to do to attack those things. And the room is full of other enemies as well. Gortash, of course, isn't a normal enemy. He's a boss, so now he's got all these special abilities and things you've never even seen before, okay? So, immediately you start to read the descriptions of everything, and you're like, okay, so this is resistant to this. This has projectiles that will bounce off of this. This is going to absorb this damage. It's going to reflect this damage. It's highly resistant to this damage, but it's weak to this damage. You got to sit in this fight for 10 minutes before you can even make a move, all right? That's not fun. I'm sorry, it's not. It's frustrating, especially when you're at the end of a stream and you just want to finish this. And it's like, why the fuck do I have to sit here and study this room for 10 minutes to figure out what the fuck's going on? It's way too complicated. You know, I get it. Okay, it's one of the big 3 bosses before the end of the game. It's still annoying. I'm sorry, I can't enjoy that because it's too complicated. I don't want to sit there studying like I'm a fucking scholar of D&D to do a simple fight. All right? So it was very annoying to me. And basically, as I start, okay, it just becomes a shit show. That's like the best way I can describe it. So, both Darkscale Phil and Carlaq are based solely on projectile gameplay. Well, guess what? Everyone in this room is immune to projectiles. It bounces them back. Okay? So immediately, I use Carlaq and I throw the spear, this is the big thing that we're going to be freaking out about now. So what is it called? Nirasha? I can't remember the name of the spear. It's incredibly rare. You can only get it in one tiny situation. Nirulna. That's the name of the spear. Nirulna. Okay? It's a legendary spear. You actually get it when you first arrive in the area of Baldur's Gate, the outskirts. There's that fair or like circus going on. Not circus. It's like a festival. And in there's a genie. And the genie, if you piss him off, he warps you to a dinosaur land. And if you complete the dinosaur land, you get this spear as a reward at the end in a chest. Okay? Incredibly rare. This spear is meant to be thrown. And when you throw it, if it successfully connects with an enemy, it creates an area of effect range of thunder damage. So it's cool because, number one, unlike other thrown items, it's guaranteed area of effect damage if it connects, and it can hit a whole group of enemies. Okay? Number two, it stacks regular and thunder damage, so you're getting this like big double damage effect. It's incredibly cool. If you have a throw character build, it's super good. Well, I built Carlaq to use the spear. So not only does she throw the spear, but she has a glove on that gives her a chance, it's a random chance, to actually teleport to where the spear lands and switch places with the enemy she hit. This has helped tremendously in my game, where there have been hard to reach enemies and bosses, and I teleport them right into my team, and now they're screwed. They get beat up because they're exposed, okay? Now, in addition, with Carlaq, you can make a build based on her rage, where when you activate her frenzy mode, she now has a thing that's called Frenzied Throw. This adds a chance to make the enemy go prone. So if it hits and they go prone, now they're knocked down, and essentially they can't do their turn, and it makes it an endless loop where the enemy really can't do anything. If you just keep hitting them with this turn after turn after turn, basically the enemy's like almost stun locked. And that's how I actually beat the Raphael boss earlier in the game. He couldn't do shit. He just got teleported and stun locked, and he just was like a pussy, which is hilarious because everyone says one of the hardest fights in the game, and I just slapped him around with this strategy, okay? So, pretty good. In addition to that, I recently, at the end of my build of Carlaq, I got this ability called, I think it's a feat called Tavern Brawler, and that just makes throwable items even better, all right? So basically, she's crazy good. This throwable spear, Nirulna, big area of effect damage, buffed with all of her abilities, and she can teleport enemies around. Super duper good, right? Now, here's the problem. I don't understand that a thrown item like that is considered a projectile. Like, I would think a projectile would be like a magic spell, like magic missile, right? Or you're shooting a lightning bolt, you're throwing a fireball. That's a projectile to me. I'm not thinking a projectile is a legendary weapon, but that's on me, right? Totally. That's on me. That if I didn't understand that was going to be a projectile, all right? I even said, let's try it. And it's hilarious. I throw it. It just goes bink right off his force field, comes right back at her. Oh, bonk. Hits her right in the face. It's funny as hell. Like, all right, well, I gave it a shot. It didn't work. But now ensues, all right, the comedy of errors that this game did in this fight. So eventually what ends up happening is the spear lands on the ground. For some reason, Carlaq drops the spear, all right? And I think it was because, again, I threw it at an enemy. It was a regular enemy, not Gortash, and they also had the projectile ability. And here's what happened. I actually watched it back, and I know exactly what happened. So as I told you, when you do Frenzied Throw, which is her Carlaq's special ability, there's a chance that it will knock the enemy down and make them go prone. I threw the spear at an enemy. It bounced off their force field, came back at Carlaq, hit her with the Frenzied Throw, and it knocked her down. So because she fell, she couldn't catch the spear. But it actually is its own contradictory logic, and here's why. Per the game's logic, if the spear connects, she auto-catches it. That's how it works. If the spear connects with any enemy or any person, she catches the spear back. That's how the return spear gameplay mechanic works in Baldur's Gate 3. Okay? So just by logic alone, even if she hit herself with a move, she should auto-catch the spear because it connected. But the game says, oh, well, in this case, she hit herself with her own move that caused her to go prone. So even though in this case she should catch the spear, cancel out that line of logic and just make her fall and the spear hits the ground. That makes absolutely no sense. From any logic perspective, it doesn't. They just arbitrarily decided, in this case, erase this line. Even though this is how it works the whole game, in this case, just erase this line of code in this certain random, very rare situation, and there's no way you would ever know that. That's their own judgment call to say, erase this outcome, even though it happens every other time, because we feel like it. It's crap. It's bad. It's not logical at all. By logic standards, spear connects, Carlaq catches it. Don't care if she went prone or not. She should still have the spear in her hand. Nope, the game just fucks up. Like, okay, whatever you say. All right, that's bullshit. So now the spear is on the floor. Carlaq has no weapon. Luckily for me, I have other things I can throw, but I want that goddamn spear back, right? First of all, that's her whole build. And if I don't get that spear back, she's basically going to be kind of worthless for the rest of the playthrough. So now the spear's on the ground. So what am I going to do? I know what I'm going to do. You can pick items up off the ground and throw them. Okay? So again, I use, what do you call it? Frenzied Throw. Okay? You can do that to either throw something from your inventory or pick something up from the environment and throw it. It shouldn't change the properties of the Frenzied Throw. It shouldn't change the properties of the item. It should still work. Okay? Now, at this point, I believe that the shield was down. Gortash's shield was down by luck. What had happened was I was using Shadowheart, and I used her Sunbeam, and I was trying to hit enemies, and apparently the Sunbeam passed through the enemies and blew the generator off the wall, so all the shields went down completely by luck. So by dumb luck, I'm actually going to win this boss fight because I was losing badly, okay? But I very, very chance start coming back. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe this, right? So I said, the shield's down. Now's my chance. If I can stun lock Gortash, we're going to win this fight, even though we were on the ropes. So I have Carlaq get up, walk across the room, pick the spear up as an environmental object off the ground, which should now technically make it an object in her inventory, but apparently who knows how they code this fucking game, right? She throws the spear. The spear hits Gortash. The spear hits her. The spear hits everyone in an area of effect and makes everyone go prone, and the spear disappears from the game world. Completely. just gone. And I said, where is it? Not on the floor. It's not in her inventory. It didn't blow across the room. It's literally erased. Okay? Now, there's all these theories that people are trying to come up with and try to explain it away. But I don't think there's a theory that's going to be correct. I just think their coding is bad. I think that this entire idea of throwing objects was never refined enough. And because of that, it's always janky. People have outright said this. Just listen to this. If you're in stealth, so you haven't engaged in a combat yet, you're not in fighting, and you throw the spear, even if it connects, it doesn't go back to her. It lands on the floor. Why? The whole idea is that she throws this spear, and it's a returnable spear if it connects with the enemy. Well, everyone agrees that's a game bug, that it should return to her, but they've never fixed it. So everyone just works around it. No one uses throwable objects out of cover or out of stealth because they know that they're not going to return. It's fucked up. So if that's fucked up, okay, obviously there's going to be other stuff that's fucked up as well, right? So the whole mechanic shouldn't exist if it's not refined enough to not be a janky, wonky, not consistent thing. If it's a mess, don't put it in the fucking game. But they didn't care. They said, we're going to put it in. And now how many people are going to have issues with game mechanics like this? And it's stupid because the game mechanic is great. As it worked, it was amazing. She's one of the best characters in the whole game when she has this build. And now the one item that made this build work, right, disappears from the game. Now, I have a theory about this, okay? I want you to understand something. I actually don't blame this on D&D at all. Because in D&D, now correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys are going to know better than me. In Dungeons & Dragons, there's a Dungeon Master, correct? So a situation happens where something kind of breaks. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? If there's a problem, then the Dungeon Master would fix it, correct? Like the Dungeon Master is kind of like God behind the scenes, omnipotent, and can try to resolve issues and things that don't seem to make sense. Because let's be honest, when you have something with this many moving parts, D&D has been around for a zillion years, correct? And so I'm sure there's so many addendums and new things that have been added to D&D over the years. Maybe not all of them jive and fit together. Like puzzle pieces, they don't exactly fit right. So is it not the Dungeon Master's job to kind of resolve those issues? And if that's the case, then that makes sense, right? But I mean, again, if I'm wrong, correct me, but there has to be like a ruling body on this stuff when you're playing D&D because it wouldn't always fit, right? There might be issues that need to be resolved. There is no Dungeon Master playing a video game. And that's the problem. So this obviously is a situation. There is absolutely no situation whatsoever where this spear should just be yeeted from the game. Just zoop up into space or into another dimension, or maybe it got shoved up Gortash's ass and you can't get it out. I don't know where it is. I don't care. It shouldn't have happened. Even if the spear, again, didn't connect properly and missed or whatever, which it didn't. It did connect. It hit everybody. It should still land on the floor again. We literally just saw that a turn before when it bounced off of someone, came back and hit Carlaq. She fell and the spear landed on the ground. Right? So why on the holy hell, the second time that the second thing happened again, did it have a different outcome? Bad coding. It's the only explanation. The whole throwable objects thing in this game is fucked up. And it shouldn't even be a build. It shouldn't be an option unless they were going to refine it and fix it. This game's been out since September. I'm not playing this game release week. This game has been out more than half a year. They had ample time to fix this. But if you haven't heard, Larian already made their announcement. Okay? Their announcement is, we are not doing DLCs for Baldur's Gate. We are not making Baldur's Gate 4. We're moving on to other projects. We're done with this. We're wiping our hands of it. So they're done with this. They don't give a shit. You know? This is something that absolutely should be fixed, and I doubt they ever will, because I bet you're not going to see many or any real improvements moving forward. They made their big announcement, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll do the right thing and continue to go back and fix things like this. But this is awful. All right? 130 hours played. A build specific to this weapon that works and has beaten big-ass endgame bosses, And now I'm going to be cheated out of that because the game doesn't work. This was not an error on my part. This is not, I didn't understand that Asterion was going to leave my party and take my items with him, and I'm crying over it, you know. This is a situation where the game's coding's fucked up. An item finger snapped off the planet, and I'm just supposed to swallow that? No, absolutely not. I have the right to voice my opinion and to tell you this game is a buggy, janky mess at the end. It's funny because other parts of the game haven't been like this, but I'll tell you, since I got to Act 3, it's just been like increasing amount of these kind of problems every time I play. And it's like, all right, I'll forgive this one. All right, I'll forgive this one. I literally had like 7 in a row yesterday. And at that point, I got to put my foot down and be like, it's fucked up. All right. And now you might say, well, it's probably on the ground. No, I searched. Watch the video from yesterday. I did the area search. You hold down X and it does this circle on the ground. It's not there. I finished the fight, by the way. I beat Gortash. And then it's just gone. All right. Now, what's funny is some people are like, there's Reddit threads about this. And some people have complained about exactly the same thing. Even some people have complained about the exact thing in that fight. Okay. And some people said, just listen to this. Oh, I found it randomly in an enemy's inventory, but the enemy never picked it up. It's just there. What? Other people have said it was on the ground, but invisible. Other people have said it was randomly in another character's inventory in their party for no good reason. Huh? Okay. So what we got to do when we boot up today is we have to try to fuck around with the game. Maybe just by reloading, it'll be there. Maybe. But if I continued to play, that means I lose the item forever, right? What? It doesn't make any fucking sense, right? And like I said, I did do the area search, and it's not on the floor. So some people are like, oh, it's under Gortash's body. It's literally not there. I've tried. So maybe it is in his inventory. Why would it be in his inventory? Like I said, did it literally get stuck up his ass when I threw it? And so it's like attached to him now? It doesn't really make much sense at all. All right? So basically, I really, 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 really hope that that spear's in there. Because if not, my Carlaq will not be essentially viable for the end game. I mean, I have another spear that returns when you throw it, but it's not that good. It's very weak. So that, and it doesn't do the force damage. It doesn't do the area of effect. So it's not going to be that good. I think I have a legendary spear that has light ability, like the what's it called? The light ability in this game. I'm having a brain fart. Whatever that light magic is, it has that in it, but I don't think it auto returns. And that's the problem. If it doesn't auto return, then it's worthless. You know? Now it's funny because Tub says, oh, there's another great hammer that will do the same thing. Dude, we're at the end. We're at the end of the game. Do you want me to do more questing to go try to find this random fucking hammer that's somewhere hidden in the game that I didn't get because the game glitched my fucking legendary spear out of existence? Like, no, we want to finish the game. Right? So, okay, some people this is good news. I'm being told, no, Larian did not say they're going to wipe their hands of Baldur's Gate 3. They have committed to continuously improving the game for a little bit at least. For now, for the foreseeable future. So that's good. And, you know, I want to know that information. So that's good. Fix the fucking spear. In fact, how about this? Larian Studios, everyone who's working there at Larian Studios, there's a matter of utmost importance that you must resolve immediately. Okay, I want you to step away from your computers, put down your coffees, get out of your big boardroom meetings, your dev team meetings. I want you to all listen. Immediately, you must put down everything you're doing, and you must return to work. And you must code my spear back into my game specifically. It is of the utmost importance that you drop everything in your lives. If you're on the toilet taking a shit right now, pinch it off, get your pants up, don't even wipe, get right to your workstations right now and get this fucking spear back into my inventory. This I demand. All right? Let's get to work. Enough is enough. This is unfair, all right? Listen, I paid 130 hours of your goddamn game. I want my fucking spear. I've had enough of this shit. Obviously, I'm being silly, all right? But, yeah, this is pretty silly and stupid. I mean, I want to tell you guys, here's the thing. I really feel like in the modern gaming universe, too many things get fanboyism behind it, okay? Particularly, one of the hugest things is Nintendo. It's like, oh, Nintendo shit doesn't stink. Everything Nintendo does is great. And in reality, we all agree, I think, kind of behind the scenes, outside of the realm of the Nintendo fanboys who own every one of these, right? We all agree that Nintendo makes a lot of missteps and mistakes, but somehow They always just get forgiven and continue to be successful regardless of all the mistakes that they make, right? Why? Fanboyism. Because the fanboys run out there and just blindly defend every action that they do, buy every piece of things that they sell, so it's like they're above reproach, right? In this case, with all the things I heard about Baldur's Gate 3, that I have to play it game of a generation and yada, 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 right? I do feel like Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly. I have never in my life played a video game that provided this much content of this quality level for the price that they provided it for. It's almost like weird. And now I understand why those game devs last year were like, don't expect all of us to follow suit. It's unfair for us to do the same that they've done. I mean, the incredible amount of content in this game is bang for your buck if I've ever seen it. Like, this game's playthrough is equivalent to like my Skyrim playthrough last year, including all the DLCs. And this doesn't have any DLCs. You know what I'm saying? So I totally get it. But at the same time, what baffles me is that it is apparent this game is not fully refined, has a lot of issues, particularly in Act 3, and no one talks about that. Everyone's like, best game ever, game of the year. I really would love statistics on this. How many people who bought this fucking game got to Act 3 to even say something like that? I would guarantee you half the fucking games journalists who kiss this game's butt never fucking played it that far. You know? They played the first act and said, oh, okay, I get it. And then they just praised the shit out of it to follow the fucking suit. I'm sorry, but I have a hard time believing that most people who got Baldur's Gate 3 played it for 130 fucking hours, got through the game, didn't feel this jankiness at the end, and just, if they did, they forgave it. I don't get it. You know, I'm here to try to bring you my honest perspective. I really like the game, but this game is not flawless. This game is not the best RPG ever. It's got problems. Maybe if they continue to patch, fix, and refine it, it'll be the best game ever made in like a year. But it's got all these problems now, and I can't forgive those or just overlook them to follow the bandwagon of what everyone says around me that it's amazingly flawless. It's not. It's got tons of problems. Really, it's just frustrating to me because I don't understand why everyone kisses the game's butt and no one has called out these major kind of problems. Maybe I'm just the unlucky schmuck who gets every problem. I don't know. But man, I'm not making this shit up. As we go along, we encounter the next annoying thing, the next annoying thing. And again, I'll be honest with you. No, this would not have been my game of the year last year. It might maybe ranked top 3, but it wouldn't have been my game of the year. When you get to a point where you're just exhausted and you want a game to end and you're not getting enjoyment much out of it anymore, that's a bad sign. Baldur's Gate 3 has overstayed its welcome. It has so much content in it that you just feel this heavy level of exhaustion by the end. And when the game starts having these problems, now your enjoyment is sucked out of your experience. I had zero enjoyment in that Gortash boss fight yesterday. Zero. Even with all my stuff going on, I'm like, this sucks. Too complex, too many moving parts, too much jankiness, pisses me off, just want to fucking get through it, but it's like pulling teeth, right? It's like, I just want this to end, but I'm going to be stuck in this room for an hour of torture. Well, I don't want to be tortured for an hour. I'm supposed to be enjoying a video game. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel at this point. Now, hopefully, we're in the end now, and hopefully the end fight isn't like that. I'm sure it's going to be the most complex fight in the game, especially because it seems like all the characters will be returning who we've recruited over the course of the game to help us. But man, it's going to suck if the end fight is again another thing. There's a million fucking new factors and moving parts and variables you don't understand, and this doesn't work here, and this ain't working here, and a glitch here, and a bug here, and this fucking person gets shot into the fucking Nintendo world, and this person is fucking erased from, fuck this. I just want to play it and beat it. I don't want to spend the next week trying to figure out what the fuck they were trying to do for some weird ending. You know what I mean? So I guess we're going to see what happens. And go from there. Let's see. If anything, though, it's funny because someone said, how fitting to the plot is it that it's actually Carlaq who basically gives her all in this fight against Gortash, the guy who betrayed her and originally made her a slave in the Hells, right? He's the one who sold her off to the Hells as a slave and got that infernal engine to be put into her and everything. That she just gives her absolute 100% last bit of everything to beat him, but now basically she's completely burned out and worthless because she lost her build. She can't even use it anymore, right? So it's funny because if you're a role player, it actually kind of fits the story, doesn't it? Like, she went all out in that fight, and she beat Gortash, but now she's spent. She's done. She's out. She's out of energy because she gave it all to beat this asshole. So that's kind of funny. But at the same time, that's fucked up because I have this character built for the end game, and now I can't use her if the spear's gone. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it sucks. I would have liked to just boot up the game today and be like, hey, everyone, we're going to go right to the final area, and let's engage with the final end game content. And I can't do that because now we have to try to fuck around and see where the spear went, if it even exists. Does it exist in the game world? Is it fused to a body? Is it in the walls? Is it up my ass? I don't know. Won't know till we fuck around, and I don't like fucking around. You know, I got shit to do. I got a brain to stop. I got a big ass fucking Krang brain to stop. That's probably at this point, who knows what's going on with this thing. And I don't got time to fuck around over a magic toothpick, but apparently I got to, you know. So let's see what happens. But my rant ends at this, all right? This game absolutely has flaws. It is not flawless. If you like it as your Game of the Year pick of last year, more power to you. I can totally understand your position why. I would never give Game of the Year to a game that causes me this level of anxiety and stress because it doesn't fucking work right. I just wouldn't. Still ranked high. Like, I would probably, I mean, number score, it's got to be an 8 or a 9. You know what I mean? But I would never be giving this game my Game of the Year award when I'm pissed off at it like this. I shouldn't be angry playing the game because it fucked up. So, there you go. Okay. Folks, that's what I had to talk about today. I got it off my chest. I've ranted. And now we can move on and see what happens today when I play. I'll be honest with you. I think the spear's gone. I don't think we're getting it back. So the only thing I can say is there another build we can do for Carlaq? Or is she shot? Like, if that's the case, I don't even know who to use in her place. She was essential to my endgame build. So I don't even know what to do about that. Like, someone said there's a hammer. I don't know what the fuck the hammer is. There's a hammer that does the same thing. I don't know. I have a throwable spear that returns, but it sucks. It doesn't do a lot of damage. It's the early game spear, you know? So unless anyone else has an idea of where to go to get another throwable item that will return to her, I think she's pretty shot. Like, I don't know. Like, we could give her a two-handed weapon, but it's not going to do nearly as much damage or effect as what I was doing, right? Okay. Orphic Hammer. Yeah, see, but I have to, then things like Tavern Brawler are worthless. Like, why does she have Tavern Brawler, right? We'd have to completely rebuild her. And I don't want to fucking do that. I want to beat the game. You know, I shouldn't have to do that at the end of the game. That's bullshit. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for listening to my rant today. Thanks for attending my TED Talk, as they say. Stupid meme. Now let's move on. I guess it's already noon. So I guess what we'll do is we'll start with shout-outs. We'll see where those go and see how much time we have left here. But I certainly hope, if you will stick around, that you'll help me with this. Try to figure out what happened to the spear or what I'm going to do next with Carlaq. I don't know. She might be worthless for the end game. I don't even know what to say about it. Okay? All right. So let's start off with, by the way, no game news today. Nothing like that. I checked. Nothing really going on in that regard. So no worries there. Let's start with the YouTube side of things. So thank you to those who contributed on the YouTube side of stuff. We start off with BB Phil, who did a super chat and says, is everything allowed on your React channel? I was surprised to find out you react to people saying things about you. If you look at the submissions thread, because I have a thread for submissions tier and ultra tier, those are the people who submit the clips for the React show, DSP versus the internet. The rules are right there. And I'll just off the top of my head, says right there, you know, there's a difference between me reacting to like a this is how you don't play, making fun of my gameplay, or someone who's a troll, like literally sitting here insulting me and my family members and stuff. I'm not going to give a troll any kind of airtime because that's exactly what they want. They want attention. The best thing I can do to trolls is completely fucking ignore them because then it shows them how insignificant they really are on this planet and they're not worth my time. So to give them time on a show just because someone paid to do a submission, I'm not going to do that. Okay? Okay. Rare Tricks did a super chat. He says, arguments about rules are the true heart of Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. Now, and again, the thing is, from what I'm to understand, let's say there was an argument that erupted in a game of Dungeons and Dragons over something like this. Where did the spear go? Or the Dungeon Master would figure out that resolution and solve the problem. So there's an ultimate solution. And even though you might not agree with the solution, the whole point is the dungeon master makes the rules. There is no arbitrary body or overseer in this game to fix an issue like this. We all know the spear should not have just disappeared, right? It should be somewhere. But the fact that it did disappear, well, what's the resolution to this? Well, there is none. It's a video game. Sorry. Go on your podcast and rant and demand that Larry and studio staff go to their desks and code the fix right now. I mean, I did that. It ain't going to do anything. No one cares, right? So I'm the one who gets asked out after 133 hours invested in my playthrough because the coding's bad. That's bullshit, right? But I think that's kind of the problem is in a D&D game, you're investing all this time and effort into it, but you will get resolutions to problems like this. You can't do it in a video game. And that may be the issue. Maybe Larian bit off more than they could chew. And maybe that's why they don't want to do another D&D game. Right? Maybe that's literally why they don't want to do another one, because they realize, man, this was such an undertaking to get this game out. And now there's all these problems with it, and we just don't want to fucking deal with it anymore. Let's move on to our own next project. I don't know. Right? I don't know. BB filled in another super chat. Says, have you seen a Smash Brothers Melee documentary? It showcases all old school tournaments with people sleeping on the floor for days in 2003. No, I never saw that, but I can attest to that back in the day, before there was professional sponsorship or anything fighting game related, it was all grassroots and it was very sloppy. Before the era of Street Fighter 4, when all of a sudden you had companies like Mad Cats and other companies coming out and sponsoring players, and then there was esports teams involved and things like that. It was just individuals bumming their way through all these events to try to get good and become a top player. And honestly, in a lot of cases, it was just for the glory and the love of the game. It wasn't like there was a big reward at the end of the tunnel. Even the people who were winning all the tournaments in a country weren't rich and making money off of it. They had to find other ways to finance what they were doing because there was no profits in it. The tournaments were all grassroots, run by just local community members. The prizes were based off a very small prize pool, $5 to enter a tournament. How big's that pot going to be realistically, right? So, yeah, a lot of the times you'd have people who were like sleeping around the tournament venue, trying to bum into people's hotel rooms. That happened all the time. If you had a hotel room, can I stay in your room? What? Can I stay in your room tonight? No. Are you going to pay me to stay in the room? Well, no, I don't have any money. What the fuck are you doing at the tournament? Well, I'm playing. You came to a tournament with no money. You have nowhere to stay. You're literally begging people to stay in their rooms tonight. Yes. That was common. I'm not even kidding. That was a common occurrence back then. Yes, I never saw the documentaries or whatever, but it sure sounds like it's pretty accurate. If that is what it was portraying, that kind of thing was 100% commonplace. It was very common that you go to a tournament and there was a hotel that was, basically booked for the tournament because all the tournament players were there. And you'd go, want to come into our room and play some casual play? Sure. You open the door, there's like 27, 28 people in the room. A tiny little hotel room. We're not talking like a big grand luxury suite. A tiny little fucking hotel room. It smells like ass. It's disgusting. The fuck are we doing? What is this? That's what it was like back then. Anyway, hey, one day I could totally do like a whole stream or, I could certainly contribute to a documentary. I was there. I have all this knowledge of the tournament scene back then and how it was. But again, because I'm the meme of the internet that everyone hates, no one ever comes upon me for any kind of information whatsoever. They don't care. Right? Because everything I say is obviously fake anyway, right? Like I was never part of that scene. I never was good at games, Hey, I make it all up. Of course, right? Okay, I received a $6 tip from Super Snow Carl Turbo HD Remix. Well, thank you for that, Super Snow Carl Turbo HD Remix. Let's get you on the leaderboard here. First tip of the day. Super Snow Carl Turbo HD Remix. Okay. For the record, these are not Snow Carl tips, because I think a lot of people thought this person's Snow Carl. No, this is a person who's been using that as a joke meme name for a while. Anyway, they said, here's some food talk. Did you hear McDonald's will be selling Krispy Kreme donuts at the end of 2026? Hear me out now. How about a Krispy Kreme Big Mac? They'll call it the Death Burger. No, I didn't hear that. No, I'm not interested in that. You know, the era of Krispy Kreme was like the mid-2000s, right? Like, Krispy Kreme hit the scene and started competing with other donut makers like Dunkin' Donuts. And their donuts were significantly better. You could see them being made because they had like an assembly line in the building that you could watch these donuts being made. And it smelled great. And they actually had some decent coffee as well. And you could get ultimate gourmet donuts, like cream-filled, chocolate-topped donuts and stuff like that. And for a while, they were very, very popular. I particularly remember when I worked my office job at Wells Fargo, that we would every once in a while bring Krispy Kreme into the office, or someone would bring them in and be like, oh my God, right? Like crazy decadent donuts and shit. But I never really actively like sought out to get them. Like I never went there and bought them for myself, for my own house or anything. They're just too decadent to me. Like they're too many calories, too much sugar. You know, they're amazing. They taste so good, but they're so bad for you. I would literally not go for them. And since then, since I had that office job, and that was 20 some years ago, I have never eaten a Krispy Kreme donut once again. They don't have it out here in the West Coast. It doesn't exist. Out here we have Top Pot donuts, which I don't even know how they're made, but they're very good. They're very dense donuts. They're very different from Krispy Kreme, but they're very tasty. But even then, I think I eat donuts once every 2 years or something like that, if I even eat them at all, because I just, they're not something I should be eating in my diet. When I'm as old as I am, I'm about to be 42 years old, I shouldn't be eating donuts. But anyway, no, I didn't hear about Krispy Kreme going to McDonald's. That sounds disgusting. It's just gonna be like everything else. Oh, McDonald's now has wings. Oh, McDonald's has pizza, right? It's gonna be some shitty, bad version. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be anything good. It's gonna be a crappy knockoff of, probably shitty stuff, So I'm not too interested in getting Krispy Kreme donuts from my local McDonald's. I'm lucky if I go to my local McDonald's and get anything edible to begin with, and now we're going to talk about getting Krispy Kreme donuts there. I don't think so, Okay. All right. Well, that covers it for now. I think we've done all the shout outs so far. So if any other contributions come in, I will shout them out. But in the meantime, guys, if you could tag me in chat and let's see what you guys want to talk about. And go from there. Whoops. I opened the screen I didn't mean to open. I was trying to refresh this screen, and it glitched. What did I do? Okay, hold on. Okay, okay. It's loading now. Good. Okay. So if any other contributions come in, I'll shout them out. But in the meantime, let's see what you guys want to chat about. Okay. Butter says there was a Krispy Kreme in Tacoma when he lived in Washington. That's pretty far away from me, Tacoma. It's pretty darn far. So maybe there is one there, but I've never seen one in my local area here, Seattle area. Avarice, re-upping the membership for 6 months, as I missed when we didn't run ads, but now it helps us. But I know it helps us. Huh? Yeah, so basically, if you remember, I didn't used to run any ads on my streams at all. If I did, it was a rare thing. Once or twice a stream, I would manually run. But then I would sit here and I would like overly advertise to you, and people all complained. And they said, Phil, if you could stop advertising as much, would you like run, it doesn't matter if you get sponsors, you run ads. In fact, people were saying, yeah, please run ads. They were actually saying that. Hey, Phil, please run ads. And I was like, you're asking me? They were like, yeah, monetize us. Like literally that's what they would say. Monetize us. You're going on a break quick. Go monetize us. So I started doing it, and then YouTube enabled the auto running of ads. So it does it by itself. Okay? So that's what I've had on for months. And if you haven't noticed, I'm not really advertising that much anymore. I mean, maybe a couple of times a stream I'll say, hey guys, contribute if you can. Or if we have a really slow stream, I'll bring it up. I'm trying my best to really reduce the amount that I advertise on my stream, because I know how obnoxious it is. And as people have made point, if people want to contribute, they're going to figure out how to do it. Or they're just going to ask. Right? They're not going to say, we need to be reminded 17 times a day that you can contribute. People are going to figure it out. Right? So I stopped doing that, but the ads are running. And I'll be honest, I make a few bucks on the ads. It's not a giant difference from when I didn't. But at the same time, it helps. Every once in, I get, especially on like a big premiere stream when there's a lot of people here on a big premiere day. Typically, I'll get some extra ad revenue on a stream like that that's monetized. It's not a ton, but it does help. Okay. And I apologize for those who are like, oh, I don't like these ads. All right. I don't like ads either. I think ads suck. I don't want ads in my face. I strongly recommend you get YouTube Premium. All right. I'm going to tell you again, I know I swear to you, I'm not paid by YouTube to advertise YouTube Premium, but I really like the service and I will tell you guys about things I actually do really like that I pay for. So with YouTube Premium, just listen to all the features you get. Number one, no ads anywhere. Done. Ads are completely gone from the site as if they don't exist, but the person who's running the ads gets credit as if you watched. So every time you watch one of my streams, if you have YouTube Premium, you're helping out this channel. Thank you for that. Okay? Number two, you can actually listen to YouTube minimized. And I do this all the time. I'll have music playing and I'll just minimize YouTube and it'll play in the background and I can hear it. I can listen to it when I'm in a shower. I have, tunes playing, right? It's pretty neat. I really like that about it. And again, no ads, no intrusive ads. So you can just have it playing endlessly like a playlist of music on YouTube. And it's like listening to a radio station, which is really neat. You can download videos ahead of time to your device and listen to them or watch them later, even without an internet connection. So you're able to mobily watch videos ahead of time, which is really, really cool. Okay? Now, that's just some of the features I've actually mentioned recently. For those of you who like this podcast and you said, why don't you have it available on other formats like on iTunes or whatever? If you get YouTube Music, you can subscribe to this podcast and it comes to you delivered every single day as if you had one of those other services. And if you have YouTube Premium, you get a free subscription to YouTube Music. You get ridiculous amounts of music on there. That's just a few of the features. Some people have told me, I guess, for your first month when you become a YouTube Premium member, you also get a free membership to a YouTube channel. I haven't confirmed that. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it may be worth a look if you look into it. So basically, give it a look. And again, I recommend it. It's not that expensive. I think depending on where you live, it's anywhere from like $10 to $20 a month. I think here in the US, it's like $16 a month. I pay for it every month. It's why we're able to do shows like DSP Reacts, DSP versus the internet or the new Retro React show and see no ads because I have that service. And it's just super duper good. Okay. The Blimp says, I've got it. If I download your podcast and I listen to it later, do I get revenue? It's a good question. I think because all of that is enabled through YouTube Premium, I think the answer is yes. I can't confirm that. I don't work at YouTube. All right. But I think the answer is yes. I will benefit from it in some way because the only way you can access that stuff is by having YouTube Premium. So they're going to factor in that. And I think like if, you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube Music and you're at least listening to it in some form, I think I get credit for it. I can't confirm that. I don't work with them, but you would think that I would get credit for it, right? Okay. So anyway, yeah, I'm sorry that ads annoy you guys, but I do strongly recommend that you get YouTube Premium. Okay? Okay. I received a $10 tip. Oh. Okay, so hold on. It's 1 Minute Man. He tipped $10. He has an update on the Asterion situation, I believe. Let's see what he has to say. Thank you for the $10 tip, 1 Minute Man. Is that the biggest tip of the day so far? It is. Let's get him on the leaderboard. Okay, so he says, I rewatched your segment from a few days back, the I Got Robbed segment where Asterion stole my stuff. He says, I wanted to find out why you didn't get an option for a happy ending and avoiding frustration. It turns out you locked yourself out of that conversation with Asterion like you did with Saravok in part 42 of the playthrough. Okay. 25 minutes, 46 seconds in, I chose option 1. All right, what do you need? All right. Expresses agreement in this context. When you went back on your word and you didn't help him, you pissed him off. If you had chosen option 2, you can't finish the ritual, you'll kill all these people, you would have been given the opportunity to persuade Asterion. That would still be in your party. Nobody dies except Cazador, and all prisoners go free to live in the Underdark. Everyone in your party is proud of Asterion, a really happy and satisfying outcome. Wow. So just think about that. Because of an arbitrary conversation choice that I made in part 42 of a 133-part playthrough, some, 100 hours later, that choice is somehow remembered by the game engine, and I'm screwed out of having a happy ending. who would have even thought, back then that you're not understanding what you're saying or that it has any repercussions or what it means, right? Right? So, yeah, that's kind of, I mean, I'll be honest, I think that's kind of silly that you're locking yourself out of content later for something you did early in the game, okay? Anyway, I received another $10 tip, of course, from 1 Minute Man. And he continues on with this. He says, in conclusion, the dialogue would allow for Asterion to actually have a very positive and satisfying character arc, which would make him a better and mature person. Your choice of dialogue brings out the worst in him, so you end up losing a useful companion, and worse because he has your good stuff, which rightfully belongs to him. I disagree. He has been fighting alongside you, putting his life on the line. You expect him to leave butt naked? No, I think, like I said, there should be an option to hash it out. Either he keeps it all, you keep it all, or there's a compromise option, or you fight for it. As I explained last week when we went over that. If I were him, I would have left you nothing. Maybe there's a lesson to be learned. Be careful how you talk to people. Choose your words carefully. You may lose someone important to you in life. That's how it works. Fair enough. Maybe it's a life lesson. Or maybe it's just a really annoying, arbitrary line early in the game that you have no idea the repercussions of because of the way that they coded the game. But, well, thank you very much, 1 Minute Man. I appreciate that this morning. Okay. Okay. It's not early. 42 hours into a 140-hour game is not early. It's not even a third into the game when you're making that choice, right? Dark and Terry says, just want to say your second Dark Souls 3 run's one of the most underrated playthroughs of that you've ever done. I love hour parts. It's a shame your redemption run of Bloodborne isn't in your style of parts. Yeah. Right. The hour parts came much later. The hour parts came during the year of the Google Plus glitch that screwed this channel over and shut down for like 2 weeks before the glitch was fixed by Google. And then I decided to do the hour-long parts. Right. No, the second Dark Souls 3 run is amazing because now I've played other FromSoft games. I've learned the mechanics, and I go back in, and I do so much better that second run. I remember the boss I had the most problems with the first run was Champion Gunder, and then when I fought him the second time, I beat him like the second try because I kind of understood the game much better, right? That's true too. Dark Gaming says technically you can lose Lae'zel at the end of Act 1. Right. Or Lae'zel because I said Lae'zel. Lae'zel. Because at that whole Githyanki plotline, remember? You have to do the right choices so that basically you don't lose her. Because you could lose her there with those choices, right? The tip total needs an audit. Oh. Correct. It should be 26, right? We had the 2 1 Minute Man tips, and we had the Super Snow Carl Turbo HD Remix tip. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Okay. I'm sure. Tub says you can lose every single party member if you don't pay attention. I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure like each character has arcs, right? Where you could do a wrong thing and then they'll leave or die, right? 672 just said, you should try new churros from Subway. They taste like old Wonder Bread covered in cinnamon. I don't know if that's a slam or if that's a compliment. Old Wonder Bread, like the old style of Wonder Bread, and you think that's good, or old moldy Wonder Bread, right? What are you talking about? Let me just tell you something. The last thing I think about when I go to Subway is eating a churro. Don't they have like a bunch of shit now that they're doing? That's really weird. Don't they have like a giant foot-long cookie? I think they do. I think they have a foot-long cookie now too. Like they're basically doing everything that they could bake in their oven with their bread. They're now doing. Chris E20, we've already stated that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is likely going to return as a late-night stream once we wrap up Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon. Those must finish, and then we can reshuffle the schedule around. I definitely want to play more Dragon's Dogma 2. I want to do a co-op playthrough with my wife, right? I probably will bring back Final Fantasy VII. The thing is, I don't want to do all RPGs, so that's why I'm thinking of doing like maybe Alone in the Dark for variety. So Dark Gaming says there's a plot line you can't do now, but if you become a worshiper of Baal, you can kill most of your party in exchange for OP powers like Slayer. Wow. No Tango Dinero says try the fish sandwich from Arby's. It's surprisingly good. You know, that is something that I miss around here. There used to be an Arby's, no exaggeration, right around the corner from me. And I wouldn't go there all the time, but every once in a while you go there, you get a nice beef and cheddar sandwich, or you get one of their market fresh sandwiches or something like that. It's pretty good. Curly fries there were good. But they were closed by the health department for like an extreme amount of health code violations. So I guess they were really run poorly. And the only other Arby's in my area is like over a half an hour driving distance away. And it's basically like way too expensive to get it delivered. Like they really jack up the prices for no good reason. So it's like, do I want to drive a half an hour to eat Arby's, or do I want to pay an exorbitant amount of money to eat Arby's? No. So I haven't had Arby's in years. The Bloom says, yesterday's suggestion about the split between you covering topics and playing games and types of games you're playing and how it splits the audience was a really interesting segment. I agree. If you don't know what we're talking about, so yesterday someone had said, well, actually it was 2 days ago. It was when we did Suggestion Box. Someone had said the following. When you play games, all right, the majority of people seem to want to see you play games. The problem is no one agrees on the game. So when you play an RPG, that audience shows up. When you play a fighting game, they show up, but then they're split. For the people who want to see you do non-gaming, like this podcast or something on my React channels or a special event, they're unified in just wanting to hang out. They just want to spend time with me and have some personal conversation or whatever. So because they're unified, those experiences feel different, right? It feels like more people are engaged in it. How is it that whenever I do a random gaming stream, it's very hard to retain an audience or get people excited, but if I do a random late night chill stream, tons of people show up and engage and support, right? So I think that's what it is. That's a good point. There are unifying times. For example, if I play a new GTA game, if I play a new FromSoft game, like for example, everyone's going to want to see me play the DLC for Elden Ring. Well, can you imagine right now if I made this statement, I have decided against playing the Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC for Elden Ring. I'm skipping it entirely. I'm never playing it. People would go crazy. Like, what the fuck? What is wrong with you? No, we've been waiting for this. How dare you fucking cheat us out of this entertaining, gameplay and stream? You're an asshole. Which I would respond, well, how dare you insult me on my stream? Now I permanently ban you. And I would lean in manual ban. But luckily, I'm not going to say that. I actually am going to play it, right? But that's the thing. Like, I really feel like there's unifying things in gaming, but a lot of the times the audience is completely split. And because of that, you can't, like they say, you can please some of the people all of the time, but you can't please everybody all the time, right? It's just not possible. And in the case of me doing non-gaming stuff, again, I think people like to have a hangout session. People like to have a podcast. During a marathon, you like hanging out with me. You have a little, we're drinking, we're chilling, right? We're having a good time. Oh, I'm going to do feasting with Phil. We're just hanging out and trying food. I'm rating it while we talk, and I eat like an idiot on camera. It's fun stuff. It's different. And people like that, and that unifies the audience in a way who's into that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think that was a valid, very valid point the other day. Dark Gaming says there's no side content for Ichiban in Chapter 13. If you beeline the story, you'll finish that chapter tonight. Then we will. Let's finish Chapter 13 and Like a Dragon tonight. That'll get us into the final chapter. And I feel like the Hawaiian team, Ichiban's team, is good. I don't think we need to power level them any further. Like, Ichiban's like level 45. The rest of the team's like 44. We got endgame weapons and everything. They're good. Now when we switch back to the Kiryu team, that's going to take some work, I think, because they don't have endgame weapons. Nor do they have, they're not high level yet. So I guess we'll have to see what happens, and if we need to adjust and grind a bit, we'll figure it out. It may just be that I have to do one run, like the level 2 run in the Japanese dungeon, and then once we're done with that, use those to build up a couple weapons, and then we're good for the end of the game. No, I have level boosters, but not a lot. I have 5 level boosters. That's it. And I have like 1 to 2 extra levels for each job class. So it's not a lot, You're acting like I have way more than I have, Dark Gaming. I don't have that much. How does Dark Gaming know this stuff? Because he's a dirty, rotten cheater. He looks everything up, and he spoils for everybody. That's how. Oh, my God. Did I not already explain this? Oh, I just got asked again what games are going to replace when we finish these games this week. Okay, I'm going to say it again. You ready? Dragon's Dogma 2 is definitely coming back. I want to balance that with another different type of game so we're not playing too many RPGs. I'm strongly considering Alone in the Dark. Very different style of game. Survival horror, not that long. It'll give us some variety for the streams, okay? For the late night streams, it's probably going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I also want to do a co-op playthrough with my wife of Beyond Two Souls. Of course, we're going to keep doing the React days and stuff like that, okay? Also, Battlefront. Like, Battlefront supposedly got patched, and I want to play that a bit. I didn't even get to play it. The thing was broken. So hopefully it's fixed and I can play it now and at least get some fun out of it, okay? So that's the foreseeable future. And then on my birthday marathon on April 6th, we're going to do a schedule update. And during that schedule update, we're going to see all the game release dates for the next few months. And we're going to set in stone the games I definitely want to play. And then we're going to see the empty spots and we're going to try to figure out, so what are the filler, right? Maybe I could go back and play games that I've missed. Maybe I could bring back games that are on hiatus, i.e. Elden Ring, which we have to bring back Elden Ring at some point to get to the point so I could do the DLC in June, right? So, you know, it's funny. Elden Ring's been literally sitting on my dashboard here for ages, unplayed, waiting for me to go back. I just killed the Lich Dragon, right? And it's like, where are you? Where are you, Phil? There's more guys to kill, to blast with your magic. And I'm not there. I got lost. Yes, I saw King of Kong. I have seen that movie. I liked it. But I don't even know if it's valid anymore, because I think those records have already been broken, and then they negated all the Billy Mitchell records. Now they're claiming that they could be valid again. Like, who gives a shit? At this point, it's so stupid and convoluted. I don't even care about it, right? Favorite game of the year so far? I honestly don't even know. I really don't even know. You know, we'd have to sit down and look at the games that I've played and finished, or at least played enough of. I don't even feel like right now, if you say what's game of the year, at first it was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but then I started getting really bored with the second open world part. So until I go back to that game, I can't really judge. We have to get further in. So I'm not sure. Okay, is there anything else you guys would like to discuss before we look to adjourn the show and jump back into Baldur's Gate 3 and try to find this goddamn spear, which probably doesn't exist? I really feel like Carlaq is screwed now. Shoryuken, what's going on? Is it, what's your favorite job class in Like a Dragon? You know, what's funny about Like a Dragon is I feel like in the first one, there were job classes that maybe had like one utility and weren't that good. But in this one, almost every job class has the same style. Like every job class has a move that is a great area of effect. Every job class has a move that absorbs the element of your weapon. Every job class has a move that breaks guard, excuse me. So because of that, they almost all feel kind of universal. Although admittedly, some are better for like flame attacks, water slash I can't speak English today. Causing a cold to be caught. I guess that was kind of a tongue twister. Causing a cold to be caught. That is pretty tricky. But anyway, yeah, like I think they're all pretty good. I would say Idle is great for buffing and healing, but really has like no good attacks, which is kind of sad because you just can't do any damage really with Idle. So they all serve a good utility. I mean, overall, out of all the ones, I would say Desperado is really cool because not only do you have cool gun attacks, but also that the lasso, and you can like break guard, swing people around and everything. I thought that was pretty neat. So I would say that, and you know what? The other one, Housekeeper. Why? Crazy good elemental attacks. Like the Housekeeper has all these good attacks that all hit a giant area and get everyone hit with elements. It's just really good. They're probably my two favorite classes in the game, I think. There you go. Would I ever do a playthrough of Gollum? No. No. It's like, I have enough of a hard time. All right, juggling good games. I don't have time for bad ones at this point in my career. Okay, at one point I did. At one point I played like every game. I just don't have time for it anymore. What? 1 Minute Man has tipped another $5 tip. I think he has maybe some suggestions about the spear situation. Let's see. Excuse me. Okay. He says, sorry, it was part 122. Was it the dialogue choice you're talking about? If that's the case, then that makes more sense. As for the mission spear, you're not the first to experience something like this. It seems AoE scan, looting, or move dead body could help solve the problem. You already mentioned where it might be. If you had tried, maybe you could have avoided today's rant. No, I should rant anyway. I should get it off my chest because it's just a problem that shouldn't exist in the game. Anyway, you can beat the Elder Brain without Carlaq. Don't panic. Personally, if the spear was important to me, I would have reloaded the fight. But that's the thing. I don't want to redo the fight. It's already an annoying, frustrating fight. And no one wants to see me redo it. I don't want to redo it. And I'm kind of sticking with what happens in this game. Reloading is not always the situation. Not always the solution. Sometimes you got to live with what happens in the game. And I'm not going to reload. I'm going to see what happens. Do you know you can pick up and carry and throw NPCs? If someone doesn't follow you, try picking them up. It should be both useful and hilarious in certain situations. That's funny. So that's exactly what you do in Dragon's Dogma 2. You just pick anybody up and toss them around. Didn't we figure that out early on? I think we did, right? Didn't Carlaq throw somebody? I think that did happen early on in the playthrough, and I just kind of completely forgot about it, actually. No Tango Dinero just did a super chat and said, this super chat is sponsored by Arby's. There you go. Arby's, we have the meats. That was their slogan, at least for a little bit. I don't know if it still is, right? I received a $1.50 tip from Anso Kamaru. You mentioned the open world and Rebirth started to feel boring and samey. While I disagree on the boring statement, I was definitely feeling burnout after 100% in the second area. You'll be glad to know there is a massive chunk of streamlined story for a few hours, then a small bit of open world, then another massive chunk of story for a while. It breaks up the samey open world stuff. It's definitely going to be in my top 3 game of the year. I also email you some info on Stellar Blade. I'm not going to tell you to play it or hitting your discussion to skip it, but I want to give you some info on the company and its CEO. All right, fair enough. I'll read it. I already told you. And honestly, this is not a slight against the game, but I already know what a shit show the streams would be if I played it. Literally 90% of the people in the stream chat would just be sitting here making lewd sexual comments about the protagonist. And it's like, do I really want to run a stream that becomes that? No. Been there, done that 10, 15 years ago when I used to do that kind of dumb shit in my commentary. I have completely moved away from that style of content. I don't want my content to be like that. So I don't want to play a game where it's a 10, 15-hour game of action, and every time I look at the chat, I can't engage with anyone because everyone's just, like, fucking drooling, So I'm probably not going to play it. No, Bubonic Plague, that guy, he says, maybe you could have picked up the NPC that glitched in the steel watch. Was the Steel Watch Factory? No, the Steel Watch Foundry. I'm trying to remember the name of it. No, that guy was completely glitched. He literally didn't exist. Like, I tried to select him with the area select tool. He could not be selected. He couldn't be talked to. He stood there, and you couldn't do anything with him. So I wouldn't have been able to pick him up, sadly. He just kind of got glitched in the environment. I don't know why. Okay. The Dark Anteri says, any thought about doing a react to your yearly best of gaming list you make at the end of the year? It would be interesting if you still agree with your lists. Well, we did do, last year, a fun tier maker, where I ranked all of my game of the year and game runner-up picks in the history of me doing YouTube. Remember? I re-ranked the games to say what games still held up in the modern day and which games did not. But that was only the top 2. We've never done a formal React stream to that. That could be basically something we could maybe do for Retro React over on DSP Throwback. Could work. The only bummer about that is that my earlier years when I did it, I always used copyright music. Because remember those first few years, I didn't monetize anything on YouTube, so I didn't care. So now if I go to watch those back, what essentially is going to happen is my React gets demonetized. And if it really is licensed music with lyrics and shit, like I remember one year, like my countdown had that song Relax, Don't Do It or whatever. Laser beams, laser beams. So if it plays, it might mute my stream. My whole stream might get shut down. So it would be kind of tough to do, but I have to figure it out, I guess. Hidalgo says you should pick up and throw all of the bodies around Gortash's room to look for the spirit. It's a legitimate suggestion. I guess it's the first thing we'll do. We'll just start throwing dead bodies around. Sounds like a great way to clean up. Dark Gaming says, I look forward to the react of your Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough later on your channel this year. No, absolutely not. Maybe in another decade we'll go back and re-explore, but that's about it. It'll be cool to see me finish Divinity Original Sin 2 now. No, absolutely not. We're never doing that. Never. I've already deleted the game and thrown it out. No game news today. I checked. I didn't really see much going on in the realm of game news. Some horrible disaster news today about a bridge accident in like Baltimore and stuff like that, but no game related news, so nothing to really talk about. And guys, thank you for allowing me to vent about this kind of stuff. I appreciate it. I do. You know, that's one of the points of the show, is to have an avenue to vent about this kind of stuff. I still appreciate Baldur's Gate 3. I still like the game. I understand why people like it as much as they do and would say it's game of the year, but I call out flaws when I see them, and this game has a lot of them. All right, especially this third act has been a mess in places. What's up, X-Shooter? Good to see you today. Keanu says, oh, when Baldur's Gate 3 finishes, we'll have time to play the Grinch again. Yes, we can bring back the Grinch playthrough, of course. First thing on my mind. Wow, Skill Scholar says, I used to take that bridge to work every day. I use it frequently to get to my best friend's house. Not anymore. That thing's gone, right? They got to rebuild the whole goddamn thing. Or what happened? For those who didn't hear, I guess there's like a giant freight boat crashed into a fucking bridge with people on it. And the whole bridge collapsed. So all these people got dunked in the water, and they're trying to save them and find them right now. It's like a fucking horrible mess. So, yikes. Wow, 20 people are still missing in the water. That's terrible. Seriously, that's something from a fucking horror movie, is it not? That's a disaster movie. You would expect that. Not in real life. It's like, oh my God. Scale Scholar says, yes, in Maryland, the state is bisected by water. A lot of people rely on that particular bridge for commuting, so a lot of people's lives just got more complicated as they got to figure out how the heck they're going to get around. Wow. Terrible. Wow. Ernst says, yes, that bridge is extremely important for all port shipments that come to and from the East Coast, and now it's all going to be screwed up. Shit. That's terrible, guys. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, I think it's time to wrap it up. I thank you all for chilling with me here today. Thanks for letting me vent. Hopefully today we resolve this, and I want to go right to the end game, and let's get to this brain and start smacking it around, right? Let's get those frontal lobes and go, just back and forth, slap back and forth, right? Okay. Thanks for watching the Level 1 podcast, everybody. I appreciate you hanging out. Thanks for your early support of the stream. It's time to jump back into Baldur's Gate 3 Endgame. And of course, tonight, Like a Dragon Endgame. Tomorrow, perhaps we'll recap all of that and let you know how it all went. But in the meantime, be safe, have fun, happy spring. See you in the AM. Bye-bye.